What's going on, guys? This is ISmileyzI here, and I'm finally recording the final investigation of the final case of Ace Attorney, or Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, the first game. Um, I know it feels like I'm constantly apologizing for not uploading videos, but I'm gonna have to do it again because I've had a lot of work for school and I've been sick, and yeah, so I really want to try and upload consistently, and I think I will be able to do that from now on. Just gotta start stockpiling videos and whatnot. But anyways, enough apologizing. It's time to get started. We're in the Wright & Co. law offices. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Oh yeah, Lana. Lana did say that she forged evidence, or that the prosecutor's office forged evidence. Why would they do that? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there wasn't any complications in the trial that made the judge give us an extra day. Literally, it got so loud that they had to postpone it another day. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Isn't that always how it is, Phoenix? Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Professor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. Whoa! Just dropped the bombshell there. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes! I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial. Phoenix, you already know that. It's in the freaking file. You didn't see that one coming, Phoenix. It was in the file. It's only 3 pages, although it's probably too long for Phoenix. Anyways, time to talk with Emma about the SL9 incidents. She just kind of dropped the bombshell there. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage. But before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then... What happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. Permanent picture? Oh, it must have been very traumatizing then. I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold, like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. Yeah, I guess not. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? This plot is getting very intense, guys. That's why I love this case. Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl? Oh, that's not a question mark. Neil was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You've been through so much. Did you just say that out loud? I guess it's true, but... I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago. You must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies, and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course, this happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled in my sister's office. Why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective offices in the questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? Better have another talk with her. Yes, we better. It's a new fact we didn't know before. Lana's not being very forthcoming with her past. Although I guess they never are. It's always, you always have to learn the past of these characters from other people. Which is, I guess how most games are, but Lana! Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That is kind of fishy how after that specific case she was transferred. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about that unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. Finally, getting some answers here. Only took us 3 days. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one, 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen. I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Whoa. Didn't sound like you made a deal with the devil now. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is at 5:15 there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana, what the witness, Miss Starr, said about you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so phased before. Oh boy. There must be something or someone or something like that holding her back. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing! They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? Well, that's news to us, too. Interesting how now he's suddenly getting involved with all this. Then he was the vice head of criminal affairs, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever! They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed! Emma really idolizes her big sister. As she should, I guess. Well, back then at least. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you could later use that experience in court. Gant's help. Ain't that something? Gant's help in the SO9 case was critical in its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Oh, so he made you chief prosecutor. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. Damon Gant's name has been popping up more and more throughout this case. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the chief detective was, no doubt, Damon Gant? Yes, Detective Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when the last murder took place. Wait, so you mean... How long did you know he was the serial killer? I mean, I'm assuming they didn't know before then, or else they would have asked him to come in for questioning earlier, right? When he tried to murder Emma. Oh, that was kind of random. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. I was just about to say that. Of course you were the first one at the scene. And you're the one who just happens to have forged evidence. Great. What a coincidence. Detective Gant and Prosecutor Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages when Dark must have panicked. He waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. What a police force he got there. From there, he ran straight to... Oh, Emma popped up, so that confused me. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Detective Gant and myself. That's where he found me! So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. I think this investigation is mostly, talking to people. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out. I think this is Lana who's talking. Yep. And the suspect, Joe Dark. I never realized how much they actually screwed up whose name was talking. That's weird. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her, after all her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Stark under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident? Well, of course! This is a Phoenix Wright game! That's right. Quite a coincidence, I don't buy it. But what are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident, just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago! At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The Chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the Chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder. Well, if we can get in there, I mean, it is the Chief's office, and we are just some lawyer. So, who knows? I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. The head of the department seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. I just went here because I need to go to the police department entrance. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall! I never thought things turned out this way when I woke up this morning. Wait, Sarah, you never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. No siree. Yeehaw! I just love saying that. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Dead fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Dark's, alright. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound that the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars in all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he, your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You don't mean King of Prosecutors. Not that again. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right. It was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently somebody tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. Yeah, something must have happened. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No, they were careful enough not to be too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Skye. Chief Detective Damon Gant and his second-in-command, Lana Skye. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah, Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Skye was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. You know, how come you just forget things that people tell you 5 minutes later? And you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that now. Like it was like 3 years ago since they told you. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. She's still hiding things. I know it. Well, I do know it, because I played the game before, but... So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Well, that's sad. But not any remarks from anyone else as he leaves, just silence. Well, anyways, going back to the Criminal Affairs Department. Yeah. Figured there might be something up here. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, you're looking for the others? They're all in the conference room. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. The chief prosecutor saying what she did and decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth. Not to mention our statements to the media in tomorrow's trial. There's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. Sir, we'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office. Just head across the hall to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. If someone tells you not to go somewhere, you therefore go do it. That's the rule of all video games. Hey look, an organ. And organ music. How fitting. And there's that picture on the wall. Whoa, where am I? In the chief's office, silly. At least that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. Did? They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. Ah. I never could remember where C was. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. With that paper he was reading at his desk. So, Mr. Wright, have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence. 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies. See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it, though. See how his award has a sword, or like a broken sword there? On the award? And notice how this trophy does not. I think that's what he's talking about. Of course, you never know with Phoenix. Anyway, I like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh, but this office. There was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it anymore. Now hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend.